So the next one is use of English. Use of English is also difficult, but I hope that we will know today how to succeed. First of all, let us find out the aim of use of English. The aim is to check grammar and vocabulary. Exactly, they want to check whether you are good at collocations, phrasal verbs, linking words, phrases and expressions, and word formation. And if to speak about grammar, they want to check how good you are at noun, articles, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, verb, exactly gerund, participles, modal verbs, and of course tenses, and types of sentences, and also conditionals. 0, first, the second one. Reported speech and passive voice. That's important to remember. The types of text are authentic text, I mean types of text in use of English. Then the amount of words in B1 level, that is 400, 450, B2 level, that is 500, 550. Types, what type of use of English you're supposed to use? That's multiple choice clause. They suppose that you are to know more than 2050 words according to school topics. And I advise you to spend like 30 or 35 minutes. You remember about time management. So let us look through multiple choice clause. What's that actually? So multiple choice clause, that's a clause where you are to choose between A, B, C or D answers. Sometimes these answers seems to be singular. You remember that you need to know synonyms, that you need to know collocations, and that's why if you're really bad at vocabulary, it seems for you that all these answers are singular. So, need to know grammar and vocabulary, as I told you, and some hints for you. Read the title, even over there, not only in reading. So try to anticipate the answer before. If you don't know the answer, try to guess it. Sometimes it's really helpful because you may have the feeling of language. So how to improve? How to improve vocabulary? Record phrasal verbs, also phrases, collocations, not just individual verbs. What I mean is, when you read the text, maybe for pleasure, maybe for preparation for your future exam, underline words, unknown words, but underline them together with other words, like to collocate them, and also try to remember, maybe even try to use your personal vocabulary or to record them in your personal vocabulary. It's really helpful. And one more thing, try to learn words every day, not sometimes, not rare, not once in a blue moon, but every day. So, and also read every day. And I have topics that you are to pay attention on. I mean, all these topics are from school curriculum. So, and when you have these topics at school, try to record the words, try to use them in your personal vocabulary. So, such topics as family, friends, sport, hobby, future goals, career. If to speak about the rest of the topics, they are environment, mass media, traveling, Ukraine, art, shopping, food, clothes, holidays, technology, school life, school subject, system of education in general, English in our life. It seems like these topics, or I'm sure all these topics from the school curriculum, and you know them really good. Over there I have an example how to write, how to actually use vocabulary, and how to put all these unknown words, how to structure them. So the first one, if you have the topic, for example, travel and transport, first of all, you need to write topic vocabulary in contrast. What's that? That's synonyms, and you are to know the difference between them. So we have an example like voyage, journey, trip, travel, and excursion. I'm sure that all these words, you know how to translate all these words, but sometimes it's difficult to find the exact word that suits to the certain gap, because you need to know the exact meaning of these words. Or like view and sight, you know how to translate, but I'm not sure that you know how to use them in the correct way. So it was topic vocabulary in contrast. Then we have phrasal verbs. If you have the topic travel and transport, try to put or maybe try to use or try to record all phrasal verbs that you know from this topic. Then word formation over there. Word formation is also important. What's that word formation? That's, for example, if you know one part of speech, if you know noun, then you need to know how to make up a verb from this word, or how to make up an adjective, adverb, and so on. Also try to record all these words. Also we have phrases and collocations. You remember that it's also really important. In such a way you can structure phrases and collocations. Like if you know the word accident, be sure that you know how to translate have an accident, because have an accident, that is a collocation from the word accident. Or actually be involved in accident, that's also a collocation of phrase. Do something by accident, that's also a collocation. So try to structure all these words in such a way and know how to collocate them. And also we have word patterns over there, that's really useful. You remember that I told you before prepositions, right? So I mean that if you know how to use a certain preposition with a certain verb, that's really good. So try to record them or try to structure them the same way, like afraid of, yeah? So that's pretty easy to write the word afraid, but remember to write a preposition in order to remember, in order to then maybe to use later on, and to know which preposition goes with the word afraid. Or maybe like this word differ, write down the word differ, and then remember to write preposition that goes with the word differ, differ from. So it was an example. And also I have an assignment over there, like you remember that the first item in the list of vocabulary was topic vocabulary in contrast. So how it works. So the first one, choose the correct answer. And the sentence number one, you need a passport to cross the something, right? Like edge, line, border or rim between Mexico and the United States. It seems like edge, border, line, rim, that's kind of different. They are all synonyms, yeah? So, but we need to choose just the one word. How to do this thing? We need to know how to use all these synonyms and with which word the synonyms collocate, and also we need to know the difference between them, because it seems if again to translate they are almost the same, but still they are different. So how to do this thing? So what the urge is, if to translate or if to find the meaning of this word urge, it says that urge is part of something that is far from the center, that is edge. What about line? Line is seen that is mark on the surface, and border, border, that is official line. So I'm sure that you understood that correct answer is border. The same thing we need to do with the rest of this assignment. Like in the second one, we also have some synonyms over there. Hotel, where we are, we have living, remaining, existing, staying, is quite luxurious. So you are to choose one answer, but remember, before doing this, try to find out the difference between all these synonyms. So, and one more book, and actually one more example how to prepare, how to get ready with all vocabulary, how to remember all this stuff. That is like this. So it says over there collocations and expressions. You remember that collocations and expressions are also really important. And you are to practice. So complete the blanks with the verbs go, come, reach, and get. It's also pretty easy if you know. Like if to speak about better, that is get better, yeah, you are to practice it. Then if to speak about decision, that is reach a decision, and so on. So what I'm trying to say, before just going to your test, try to use all these books and try to do as many exercises as possible before. Try to practice every day. Try to remember all these words. Structure, first of all, your vocabulary, and then practice it. So the same we have also with phrasal verbs. Over there we have the phrasal verb come and different meaning of it. So we have like the first one. While cleaning the basement, I came across something I thought I had lost years ago. And we have different actually variants over there. What's that? Come across. That's stop by, visit, inherit, find a chance, regain consciousness, to be taken with ill, vs, think of, and suggest. So of course the answer is pretty sure, the answer is clear, but try to practice it more. You are to find the answer and actually to put it into this gap. So, and one more thing, that is actually phrasal verbs. Over there we have an example how to practice phrasal verbs. So we have such a thing, like read the sentence on the left and match the phrasal verbs with their definitions on the right by writing the correct number in the box next to each definition. So how to do it? First of all, we need to find out the verb. The verb is come, and we have all the variants with this verb. I mean all the phrasal verbs that's possible to use with it. We have come across, come into, come round, come up with, come down, and come round. If to take the first one, come across. Of course, if again to read the answers, we have like stop by, visit, inherit, find by chance, regain consciousness, be taken ill with, or think of, and suggest. So come across, the meaning of this is of course that is inherit, and you can actually do the rest of the thing. So try to practice. That is really a good exercise to practice your phrasal verbs. So, and actually the books from where I took all these exercises, the first one is Destination B2 level. Over there you can practice grammar and vocabulary. That is actually from this book. I gave you an example how to structure your vocabulary, and almost all school topics you can find in this book, and you can actually practice over there vocabulary. I mean collocation, phrasal verbs, phrases, and so on. And also one more book which is really good, that is Use of English B2. It says over there that that's suitable for all exams, and previous assignment I took from this book, so it's rather good. So you can practice phrasal verbs, collocations in this book as well. So, and the last thing is writing. Writing, that's a lot of students think that writing is the most difficult part. But I hope that my tips will help you somehow. We are to pay attention on the following thing. So you are to write in formal letter, but sometimes kind of information is a little bit hidden. What I mean? I mean that, of course, they do ask you to write in formal letter, but it supposes that you know how to write essay and you know how to write review and report. That's why, while preparing for writing in formal letter, try to pay attention or try to get to know how to write essay, review, and report. So the next one Minimum number of words. That's like regular question. So what about the amount of words you are to write? If to speak about B1 level, you are to write no more than 100 words. If it's B2 level, you are to write no more than 150 words. But that's approximately. Of course, you can write a little bit more or a little bit less. So remember that for writing you will get 14 points. That's a lot. From a certain extent, that's kind of good if you know how to write, because you can get 14 points, but if your writing is poor, then that's a problem. So you are to focus on following things: on context, communicative achievement, organization, and language. And we have actually an example over there, and we will try to differentiate between all this stuff. So task. You have just returned from Britain, where you attended lesson at Summerhill Language School, sorry. The second arranged for you to stay with a local couple. The school arranged for you to stay with a local couple you hadn't met before a visit. Write a letter to a host family. First, thank them for having hosted you and describe what are family traditions you liked and why. Why local food? What local food you enjoyed and why? What events or activities impressed you most? So, write a letter of at least 100 words. Do not write your own name, any dates, address, or other personal information. Start your letter in appropriate way. So, and let us structure it a little bit. So the first thing is context. You remember this, right? So, and tips, how to manage it. So read the task carefully. You remember that we had 3 questions, right? Which you are to answer. Underline the context points you have to include, these 3 questions. Try to write close to the minimum number of words. You remember the amount of words I told you before. After finishing your writing, check if you mentioned all the necessary points. That's really, really important. Look through your letter for grammar and spelling mistakes. So the next item, that is communicative achievement. What's that? The context of your letter should be written in a personal and friendly tone. You remember? Because that's our letter, right? So, however, it's important to adjust your language to the person you are writing to. If they ask you to write a friend, then adjust your language, like write maybe something else that you're going to write to a host family. Good way of assessing how you should write is to think about how you would interact with the person you are writing in a real life. So imagine that you really know this host family, as we had an example. Or if you're writing to a friend, imagine that you have conversation with that exact friend. Give specific details where possible. Share your personal experience. It makes your language natural. So if you're going to use some personal maybe examples or give your personal experience, of course, it's going to be better than to write just something that you are not keen on and maybe you don't understand. If to speak about organization, firstly make sure that each paragraph contains one idea. You remember we had 3 questions, so how many paragraphs should be over there? Of course, 3. So, and the idea it contains developed well. So if you, when you need to give the answer to these questions, just try to explain them. It is not necessary to use like 3 or 5 sentences to explain it, but you need to explain. Maybe try to use 1 sentence but really good with good explanation, or 2 sentences but with good explanations, but explain somehow. Secondly, think about the linking words you want to use. Maybe even think about linking words before you start writing. Even though this is an informal text, but still remember about linking words. Thirdly, it's a good idea to vary the length of your sentence. What I mean? I mean that these sentences shouldn't be very long. If you're going to write long sentences, then the language is going to be inappropriate. What I mean? I mean that if you write really long sentences, that you use formal language. Short sentences, language is informal. You remember that you are to write informal letter. So write short sentences. So, and structure, suggested structure. The first paragraph includes the greetings and some opening sentence. Then you can use one paragraph for each content point. I told you the same thing before, and one more time, one paragraph, 1 point. So finally, finish your writing with a call to action. After clear ending, like maybe you are to answer some questions like this. So language. You can really get creative with your language here. But remember about simple, casual style of writing, short sentences, right? Okay. So, and I have some useful phrases for you over there, like dear Jack, or the same hi Jack, hello Jack, hi Jack, or just Jack. Pay attention that we have comma after dear Jack and hi Jack and so on. We have comma. So, how to begin? You can begin like this. Thank you, many thanks for you, or it was good, nice to hear from you recently, a lot of veterans. Making suggestions and giving recommendations, also to do this thing while writing in your letter. So why don't you, or maybe you could, how about, you can't leave my country maybe without doing something. I'm sure you will enjoy doing. So these are really useful things. So close your letter with a call to action. You remember this thing, right? Offer or clear ending you need to use. So here are some examples of closing phrases. Let me know if you need anything else, or maybe have any other questions, or maybe call me when you get in town, phone me as soon as possible, or just simple one, write back soon and let me know how it goes. So you don't need formal closing. Remember, letter is informal, so, and you don't need to use formal one. So you can close like this. So yours, or sincerely, faithfully, and as well you need to use comma, remember. So examples of signature like this. Best wishes, or just best, all the best, with best wishes, with many thanks and best wishes. So one of these variants can be chosen. And of course about linking words. You will get points for linking words, so that's why remember to use them. So I have a list of them, like one thing, another thing, besides, also, apart from this or that, and that, in the end, on top of that, but, and a lot of other. And the last thing, tips to consider. So I have such an expression for you as play it safe. What does it mean? It means that if you are not sure in grammar or vocabulary that you use, or maybe you want to use some difficult structure, think it over again. I mean that you need to use grammar and vocabulary that you are really sure is correct. If you feel that still you hesitate a little bit, do not use it. So reread a letter to check for small mistakes, like he go instead of he goes, right? It seems like it's really easy, but I'm sure that a lot of you doing such a stupid even mistake. So that's why try to reread the letter. Use linking words. You remember we had linking words, examples of them, and one more time you will get some points, extra points for linking words. Then, that's really important, remember about assessment criteria. So before writing letter, ask your teacher, or maybe you can do it yourself, read somewhere in the internet or maybe in the book for preparation for test, this assessment criteria. Because if you don't know how they're going to assess you, for sure you don't know how to write. That's why that's one of their most important things. Know how they're going to assess your writing. And also remember about time management. If you know that you need to spend a lot of time on writing, then just maybe leave the time before or start with writing. I don't know, that's your personal point, but remember about time management. Then, paragraphs should not be very long. That's the thing that I told you before. Do not use long sentences, do not use long paragraphs. And in general, I may say one more time, you remember that I told you how to write in B1 level 100 words, B2 level 150 words, but of course it's like there is no like restriction if you're going to write a little bit more, but no more than 180 words. That's important, no more than 180. And some books, useful one. So I think that's really helpful to look through and maybe to work with Successful Writing by Virginia Evans. It's really helpful. You can find over there more information about structure, about language, about linking words and so on. And also we have in Nexus, in free access, Long-Run Exam Activator and Long-Run Exam Accelerator. These two books are also useful. So I hope that you will find it and you will work with it. So that is all for today. I hope that my lesson or my lecture was really informative for you and you enjoy it. So good luck with your future exam.